Postal is a series that I personally care about a lot. I don't know why. Half of the games are mediocre or even bad, but I still like it enough to spend several months making a long-form franchise analysis video. I released that video on Postal's 25th anniversary, and that meant that I didn't have enough time to cover everything I wanted. In several parts of the video, I mentioned Eternal Damnation, a classic Postal 2 mod important to the game's history. I had a whole segment about this mod that I didn't have time to finish, so it sat on the cutting room floor until a couple months ago. I picked it up, finished it, and thought, hey, maybe I should talk about the other officially endorsed mods, and that spiraled into what you're watching today. The mods I'm going to talk about have been chosen for either being historically important, being popular, or being really good. Not every mod has been made equal. Some are far more expansive than others, and you can see that by how long I talk about each one. As you might expect, most of these are for Postal 2, since it's the only game with half-decent mod tools, and it's the most popular entry in the series by far. I'm gonna talk about them mostly chronologically, starting with the mod that, funnily enough, made me start making this video. In 2004, a modding group called Resurrection Studios was formed. They developed, as far as I know, 3 mods before disbanding. In my opinion, the best one was their first release, a total conversion for Postal 2 titled Eternal Damnation. It's an Apocalypse Weekend style campaign, as in, it's a linear level-to-level shooter, which tells the tale of a man named John Murray trying to survive a zombie apocalypse. Before fully getting into it, there are 2 things I feel I should mention. 1. I'm not playing the original release of Eternal Damnation. Postal 2 got updated a lot over the years, and a lot of those updates broke old mods. I could have downloaded a really outdated junky version of Postal 2 and installed the really old junky version of Eternal Damnation, but we don't have to live like this anymore. A while ago, a prolific Polish modder who goes by Pan Szatan, remember that name, you'll hear it again later, managed to port it to modern Postal 2 versions, and you can download the updated version from the Steam Workshop and ModDB. It's not exactly the same, there are some changes like adding the multiplayer only weapons to the campaign, but generally they roll for the better. 2. Postal covered some controversial topics, but Resurrection Studios went where running with scissors wouldn't. In my big Postal video, I gave a comically long list of trigger warnings as a joke, but I feel like I should give a serious one here. Eternal Damnation covers really serious topics like and actual vile shit. If you can't stand mentions of these topics, I'd recommend skipping to this timestamp when I cover the next mod. Eternal Damnation takes place in the fictional town of Hasselridge. The game starts with our protagonist, John Murray, inside of a padded cell in an insane asylum. He has a flashback to the day that caused him to end up here, when he killed a man that was harassing his girlfriend, Lori. Someone else from the asylum has escaped and started killing staff members. After one of them gets killed right in front of you, the door to your cell mysteriously opens. More mysterious things happen around John. Things fall down by themselves, hands appear out of walls, people throw chairs with their minds, and he suffers weird visions. He eventually manages to get a gun from one of the dead security guards. The level not giving you a gun for a significant portion of it is an interesting choice, since your fists aren't as powerful as you would hope, and the only other weapon you get is a cleaver. You've probably noticed already, but Eternal Damnation is way more violent than Postal 2. So much blood and guts pop out when you kill someone that it causes a lag spike. I'm sorry if you haven't noticed, but you're not gonna unsee it now. The key to beating this level is headshots. In Postal 2 you had to headshot someone with a pistol twice for them to die, but here a headshot will cause the head to explode. Since Eternal Damnation is a mod for Postal 2, the hit detection isn't always accurate. Sometimes you have to shoot in the general direction of a head, and sometimes you can be extremely precise and still miss. Once you get outside, the police tries to stop you. This is about the time where you start getting more weapons, like throwing knives or a pump-action shotgun. Unlike in Postal 2, pretty much all guns in Eternal Damnation reload. John decides that he should see Lori, the gov girl he protected from that pervert. The apartment complex is, in my opinion, one of the coolest levels in the game. John meets Lori and asks her to let him hide in her apartment. She mentions that he could hide at the museum where she works. Earlier today, the museum was showing the original holy water that was used by Jesus during the resurrection of Lazarus. When John asks for some water, she mentions that she doesn't drink bottled water, as she can get water from her sink for free. As John leaves, he finds some robbers and a fight breaks out. To leave, you'll be going through a sizable chunk of the apartment complex. After the building gets set on fire, John jumps out of a window into a dumpster. This knocks him out and he wakes up in a hospital at a harbor. You're stripped of your weapons, which is weird. Old FPS games had a habit of taking away your weapons at a certain point, but that was usually around 60% through the game, not less than a quarter through. You can get them back not long after the level starts, which adds to my confusion. Soon after you find a grenade launcher, which you have to use to get heavy boxes out of the way to progress. It's the only moment in the game where you have to use a weapon like this, but it's a cool idea and I wish there was more of it. John eventually gets to his home, where he finds it's been completely ravaged. There, he receives a call from Father Winston, who asks him to get to the cathedral as soon as he can. This is the first free roam level. The gate that leads to the cathedral is closed, and you have to take care of some robbers. Once you get rid of them, a special radio broadcast plays, weirdly enough voiced by Rick Hunter, the guy who played the Postal Dude in the first two games.
There's only one place to get all the information you need to know. Channel 3 News at 5, 6, and 10.
The broadcast warns listeners to stay inside no matter what, as an epidemic seems to have broken out and people are dying left and right. The outside is filled with zombies, and they're not the pushovers from Apocalypse Weekend. Don't get me wrong, they're still pushovers, but they can run now and most of them don't throw flesh anymore. John eventually gets to the cathedral, where he talks with Father Winston. He notices that a lot of holy water was spilled, but the priest has no idea who did it. Winston congratulates John for getting Lori to church, and warns him about what's happening. Eternal damnation. The good book says that when innocent blood is spilled, the devil will walk the earth, and the battle between good and evil will be fought. Outside, he finds Lori. He notices she's holding bottled water, and asks about it, since she said that she doesn't drink bottled water. She says it's just garbage she found, and she tries to throw away a litter when she finds it. Inside the museum, John finally realizes what's going on.
My god. These are fucking zombies.
The game then throws a kill X amount of Y mission at you. I don't mind these as much as I did in Apocalypse Weekend, since there are only a couple of them here. You'll encounter a new type of zombie in this level, bigger and tougher zombies which visually remind me of plastinated bodies. After you kill the before mentioned X amount of Y, the first proper boss fight happens. A big winged skeleton, who doesn't get damaged by bullets. The best way to defeat him is with explosives. There's a grenade launcher in the arena, and the skeleton keeps throwing dynamite. The way I recommend beating him is either kicking back his dynamite, which is risky, or shooting it as soon as it's thrown, which will make it explode right in the skeleton's face. Defeating him causes the gate in the back to open, leading directly to the obligatory sewer level. It sucks, just like every other sewer level in any game ever. It has these giant rats which are extremely annoying. If one manages to hit you, it grabs you and you die. It doesn't matter if you get away after getting hit, you'll die after a second anyway. Absolutely awful. Once you get out of the sewers, you'll see a man get killed by pigeons. They're luckily not as annoying as the rats. In this level you can find the original shotgun. You might recognize it as the beta shotgun. This shotgun was included in a pack of beta files Rank with Scissors released sometime after the game came out. Then Resurrection Studios ported it to Postal 2, then Running with Scissors ported that version to modern releases of Postal 2, although without the Altfire, and then the Altfire was ported to Postal 2 on the 20th anniversary. This is the first level with the neutral zombie glitch. Due to a mistake made when they were creating the levels, in certain maps zombies won't attack you unless you attack them first. This is also the only level with Jewish Hasidics. They're hostile and attack you with sickles. I remember Mike J saying that these guys were cut from Postal 2 because their publisher wouldn't allow it. Cut Jews. Now that's funny. Anyways, they took over the fire department, which is where you need to go to open the gate. After you do that and go through the gate, you meet Lori again, and she's pissed at John for leaving her again, just like he apparently did in high school. John explains that it's because his father forbid him from seeing her, without explaining why, because John wasn't old enough. His father works at the carnival, and he pays him a visit so he can finally get answers. After a sick cutscene of John driving, he finds Mr. Murray, who explains that Father Winston, let's just say, forced his way on Lori while she was tied to his bed. John swears that he will get revenge. This level starts at the carnival, where you encounter things like zombie Gary Coleman. You can ride one of the rides, and on top you'll find a chainsaw. It's unfortunately not as powerful as you would expect if you found it in Postal 2. After you get out, you'll start seeing SWAT zombies. They're a pain in the ass. Their headgear protects them from melee weapons, and they can use guns. John eventually reaches the ghetto, where on a couple occasions you'll be hearing a girl whisper. I'm not entirely sure about the significance of that. Reaching the metro triggers a cutscene, where a naked female demon bows to a pentagram and says that in 3 minutes the train will reach hell. This is the first level I would consider bad. Train levels are usually awesome, but this one just sucks. In the first few cards, people will bother you with cutscenes, and you don't really have a lot of time. This means that the best way to beat this level is to shoot everyone in front of you before they can do anything. Some of the cards explode in front of you, so you have to climb their junky geometry. Once you get to the front, John hits the brakes and the train crashes. The subway station is full of zombies and that where the fuck am I supposed to go feeling that a lot of old FPS games have. Once you get underground you meet two survivors who've been living there since the apocalypse started. They're about as minor of characters as the old man who gets killed by pigeons in that one cutscene. After you get rid of the zombies that attack them, you can find the bathroom from So. When you're about to get out, you meet some rednecks. I wouldn't mention this cutscene since they die almost immediately and there are a lot of cutscenes like this, but there is a moment where you see through a zombie's eyes, and that's cool. The elevator leads to the mall, a pretty long level. I wish I had more to say about it because I do like it, but there is not much to talk about. It's the level where you're most likely to notice one of the most annoying things about Eternal Damnation. Sometimes things that you can normally pick up like catnip are part of the level geometry instead of actual items, which means that you can't pick them up. As soon as you exit this level and enter the next, you can immediately feel the quality of this mod fall drastically. Goodbye small, good levels, and hello big empty wastes. From this point forward, it feels like Resurrection Studios were rushing to get the campaign finished. In this level you see such amazing things as giant empty buildings, places where you can get stuck between two invisible walls, NPCs spawning right in front of you, and so on. It's amazing how hard the drop in quality is. If the transition from mall to outside was jarring, take a look at this. You go down this road, see your car that you left at the carnival, and you're suddenly in a whole different environment. This level also sucks. It has a boss fight near the end. You're only gonna notice that there is a boss fight because there's a health bar at the top of the screen and the boss is standing around waiting for you to come. It's a big military zombie and there's some respawning dynamite next to it. After you kill it, rocks blocking a tunnel mysteriously explode and you're off to the cemetery next to the cathedral, where Father Winston probably is. You can find a couple skeletons, but honestly for a penultimate level it's pretty lame. Once you enter the cathedral, John immediately shoots Father Winston and demands an explanation. Winston explains that if he did what he was accused of, he would be rotting in jail and that the media overblows everything. He wasn't forcing his way on Lori, but he was performing an exorcism. Lori used to be into witchcraft, and one day she summoned a demon into herself. Winston tried to help her, but was interrupted by police. John finally connects the pieces in his head, figures out that the water that Lori was carrying wasn't junk, but the holy water used in the resurrection of Lazarus. Lori mixed it with something and caused everyone who touched it to turn into zombies. The demonic version of Lori, seen earlier in the train level cutscene, comes and mocks John for spilling innocent blood, causing eternal damnation. She leaves to do something to John's father and leaves you to fight zombies to waste your time. This level has no music, which is very weird. After killing X amount of Y, you see her summon a couple almost naked women with chainsaws around a pentagram. No idea why the cathedral has a big pentagram, and then you fight the demonic version of Lori. She's not a boss or anything, just a normal enemy. After you kill her, Lori talks about how she hates everything blah blah blah, and you fight the chainsaw woman. Once those are dead, Lori kills John's father, and with the one she truly hated dead, the devil himself comes down, mocks John how he is actually to blame for everything that happened, and you fight him and Lori. Lori goes down extremely fast, it's likely that Satan will accidentally kill her. He throws explosives at you. The way I recommend beating him is setting both him and yourself on fire, and as he starts going out, touch him to put him on fire again. Being on fire stunlocks Satan, which means that pumping damage into him is very easy. Once both the devil and Lori are dead, John says he will join her soon and the credits roll. In an after credits scene, John talks about how he can't live without Lori and he takes his own life. I personally consider Eternal Damnation to be a fascinating mod. It's a serious linear mod made for an open world comedy game. It starts off good and then turns to shit in the last few levels. Running with Scissors endorsed this mod many times. Most notably, it was included in Postal X, the 10th anniversary release of the series, and the Postal Fudge Pack, both of which included a few mods as a bonus. Mike J also voices John's father. Even if you've never played Eternal Damnation, there's a chance you experienced at least some of it. When Postal 2 came to Steam in 2013 as Postal 2 Complete, the game kept being updated for the next few years. One of those updates added most of the Eternal Damnation weapons to the game, like the knife, the Glock, the MP5, and the glorious sawed-off shotgun. John Murray even makes a cameo appearance in Paradise Lost. There was actually supposed to be a semi-official remaster of Eternal Damnation a couple years ago, made by a team called Revival Games. It was supposed to be called Eternal Damnation Resurrected, and it's teased in a few of the Monte areas in Postal 4. But from what I've heard, that's been cancelled, and the people working on it are helping Rank with Scissors unfuck Postal 4. Truly a Sisyphean task. If you want to play a pretty good linear shooter made in the Postal 2 engine and you're fine with the topics covered earlier, then I really recommend Eternal Damnation. So, what else has Resurrection Studios worked on? Here's a little history lesson. Before Postal 2 Complete, Postal 2 and Apocalypse Weekend were, technically, completely separate games. Apocalypse Weekend was installed separately from Postal 2, you had to launch it through a separate executable, and Apocalypse Weekend had some features that Postal 2 didn't have, notably dismemberment. In 2007, Resurrection Studios made a mod called A Week in Paradise to bring feature parity and combine the two games into one long campaign, alongside adding some other stuff. There are new weapons, including silenced versions of weapons like the pistol and the sniper rifle. There are new NPC costumes which add some variety. There's more gore, there's an enhanced mode, you can play certain arcade games. It's honestly pretty cool. It's a mod that used to be really popular, but it isn't worth using anymore, since almost all of its main features were ported to Postal to complete, so you get them by default. Some things haven't been ported over though. The over-the-top gore was removed, most unique weapons and items are gone, the new NPC models are gone, pretty much all they left in the Postal to complete version are the enhanced mode, Eternal Damnation weapons, since they're also included here, the combined 7-day long campaign and the feature parity between Postal 2 and Apocalypse Weekend. There are two pieces of content exclusive to this mod that I think are really interesting. First off, the arcade games I mentioned earlier. There are two. The first one, Immortal Kombat, isn't that special. You spawn in, kill 40 people and leave. The second one is, in my opinion, much more interesting. You see, when Postal 2 initially came out, there was an arcade machine that was replaced with Bastardfish in later updates. This is that machine, as seen in the initial release version. Putting into the game, you're tasked with killing 20 Mike Jays in pink shirts. I'm already walking on eggshells when I'm talking about normal Postal, so we're just gonna move on. The other addition is just as interesting, if not more. When you go to the Chicken Queen Estates part of Paradise, you might notice a tunnel that wasn't there before. Going through it leads you to the Crossroads, a map made out of recycled world geometry, with a gas station replacing the arcade and the Caucasian. It has one more tunnel which leads to... oh no. So yeah, A Week in Paradise has a school map which I think is weird. Postal 2 is a game where you shoot people, and putting a school in it seems really weird. But then again there is Postal 1. I definitely get why both of these would be removed from the Steam release, but I also feel like it would be really hard to confuse the Crossroads and School Days for official maps. Crossroads is literally just recycled assets, and School Days is a single point of interest in the middle of a big empty field. Running with scissors would obviously never make big open maps with almost nothing interesting in them. Right? I feel like I should mention the mod A Week in Paradise Forever, which aims to restore the A Week in Paradise content that was removed from Postal to complete. It's cool, but it doesn't work on versions past 5023. A Week in Paradise wasn't the only important Postal 2 mod that came out in 2007. The next one is quite interesting. In 2007, a member of Resurrection Studios who went by OA, no idea how to pronounce that, sorry, released a beta version of his mod, A Very Postal Christmas. The mod was never finished, and never received working errands or a map screen. A shame, considering the released beta was promising, having custom maps, models, weapons, and even new voice acting by Rick Hunter.
On the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me weaponry.
Years later, in 2015, a modder who goes by Augsk, how the fuck do you pronounce this? This guy ported it to the Steam Workshop with OA's permission. It's a somewhat accurate port. The errands work now, the map works most of the time, but things like the custom HUD or the new weapons weren't ported, and it's really glitchy. It's a pick your poison type scenario, where you either play the unfinished original version that you can't beat, or the glitchy Steam port with missing content. This section will be mostly about the Steam port, since I think working errands are more important in a Postal game. I mean, imagine releasing a Postal game that you can't beat, but I'll show some of the original version too. The game starts in the dude's trailer. Leaving it, you'll immediately notice an issue. This game runs like shit. I understand why it's like that in the original mod, it's a beta after all, but the workshop port is supposed to be the final finished version. The other maps are better about this, but this leaves a pretty bad first impression. The workshop port added fast travel, which is convenient. The map is pretty big. You get 4 errands at the start. To get eggnog, get a Christmas tree, get a present for Uncle Dave, and get Dave out of jail. You might notice that the map is big and confusing. I have no idea how you're supposed to find your way without it and without fast travel. I did the eggnog errand first. You can get it in the liquor store. The front door is closed and the back door is closed too. Use a grenade to open it, which I have to admit is pretty creative. The way the front door looks makes me unsure if it's supposed to be closed. Take the eggnog and try to not get killed by the police. Second errand, getting a gift for Uncle Dave. You can buy it in this shop, but getting it this way won't count for the errand. You have to go here and steal a gift from under the tree, which is next to the holy fuck $100,000. Merry Christmas, I guess. The next errand is helping Uncle Dave escape prison, and this errand just straight up sucks. Uncle Dave is locked up in this prison. You can go inside, do whatever, nothing happens. What you have to do is go into this random building, the one labeled bail bonds, go upstairs, and that makes the random tank that's close to the prison turn to the prison and shoot, which explodes the wall and allows Uncle Dave to escape. There is nothing in the game that tells you about this, you're just supposed to figure out that going here will make the tank shoot at the wall. Freeing Dave unlocks the next errand, to actually give him his present. He's located in these tents near the lake. Giving him his gift will unlock yet another errand, to find some weed. We will do that later. He happens to live right next to the forest where you get the Christmas tree from. You can't pay for it even if you wanted to, the seller is glitched. I don't have much to say about this one, it's pretty much a repeat of the same mission from base Postal 2. Getting weed is weird, because I've been picking it up along the way. You see it sometimes, and picking it up gives you a health pipe. As far as I know, you can't pick those up and have it count for the errand, you have to pick this specific one up. Now that all the errands are done, you should head back home. In the trailer park where you live, you have to fight Santa himself. After killing him, you're free to go home and end the game. Merry Christmas, champ, have some dog treats. Take this cat too. Well, not every gift is gonna be a winner. You go home, the dude gets drunk on eggnog, and the game calls me a sissy for using noclip to get out of a wall. Amazing. Jokes aside, I think a very Postal Christmas is pretty cool. I think what the game excels at is secrets. There's so much weird shit hidden around. I still remember randomly walking into a building full of creatures just to end up in a gremlin cave. In the Steam Workshop version there are skeletons in there, but in the original version there are actual gremlins. There's so much random cool shit to find that every time I play through this mod I find something new. And honestly, I think it has a pretty cozy atmosphere. I think water looks pretty cool in Postal 2 when it's not sewer water. It's a real shame that there is no definitive version of this mod. I'd love to see someone properly finish and polish it up, because a version with everything from the original mod and the working errands and map from the new version alongside bug fixes and performance improvements would be awesome, and I could recommend that to everyone. But since this is a pick your poison scenario, I'd recommend playing the Steam version first and then maybe checking out the original release.
Santa must die.
We're now gonna have a bit of a time skip, around 7 years. For the record, it's not like no mods came out between 2008 and 2013. Some of them are cool, like Project Marika, which adds working vehicles to the game, or 1409X, which adds a bunch of new game modes to the often forgotten Share the Pain multiplayer mode. But nothing I can really talk about in any detail. The next mod I'd like to talk about is interesting not just because of what it is, but because of what its creators would create next. So, you know that one part in Apocalypse Weekend where Vince tells some people over the phone to fuck off, and that Running with Scissors didn't have the budget to make a pigeon mission?
Pigeon mission? We ain't got no budget for pigeon missions. The fuck, are you kidding me?
That mission was, as far as we know, supposed to be real, but nothing ever came of it. In 2014, a member of the Russian modding group Revival Games released Pigeons Hunter Mission, which is a look into what could have been. The mod has the charming quality that a lot of mods like this have. It doesn't have any custom dialogue, so all the conversations are made out of audio recycled from elsewhere. There are two ways to play this mod. You can either just play it on its own, or you can use the mutator, which is somewhat seamlessly added to an Apocalypse Weekend playthrough. To complete the mod, you're gonna have to kill 73 pigeons. Throughout the mod, your most used weapons will probably be the sledgehammer and the beta shotgun. Not long after starting the mod, you'll have to get through a warehouse, which I personally don't like. There are a lot of net walls inside, which sometimes you can shoot through and sometimes you can't, and I find that inconsistency annoying. I really like how the custom map connects with the original Lower Paradise, with the mod ending right where the original game left off.
Guns don't kill people. I do.
I wish I had more to say about it, but it's just an above average Postal 2 map with a cool theme. You can beat it in 10 minutes, so if you have nothing better to do then why not, I guess. I luckily have a lot more to say about the next mod, which happens to also be made by Revival Games. In 2015, the previously mentioned Revival Games released Happy Night, a Christmas-themed Postal 2 mod. March may not be the most appropriate time to release a Christmas mod, but hey, what can you do? The mod has grown a lot since then. The first few versions required Postal 2 1409, which is the latest version before the Steam release. I have no idea why they chose that as a base when the superior Steam version existed, but whatever, the later versions actually run on modern releases. Then, out of nowhere, in December 2022 Revival Games released Happy Night Director's Cut. It's a pretty big update, which you actually have to download from ModDB and manually install as it runs on a modified version of the Postal 2 engine. I personally consider Happy Night to be the best Postal 2 mod out there, and if there's one thing to take away from this video, is that you should play Happy Night. My biggest issue with it is the music, not because it's bad, it's really good, but because a lot of it is copyrighted. There is a no copyrighted music option in the Happy Night launcher, which in some cases replaces copyrighted music with something else or just gets rid of it. I like to use music from whatever I'm talking about, but for this mod it's a minefield. Also something to note, Happy Knight sometimes refers to them as fanatics. That's what I'll call them, because while I'm not monetized yet, one day I probably will be, and I'd like to make some money from this video. Help me reach 1k subscribers. I put a lot of effort into this video. Please. Happy Knight begins with a cutscene of someone running from zombies. They barricade themselves in a room and start reading a story from the Necronomicon. This story has happened a long time ago, in the town of Paradise sometime before Christmas. It's the tale of the postal dude, who lived in Uncle Dave's compound. Both dates shown on screen are actually New Year's Eve and not Christmas, but just pretend it's Christmas. In 1974, a young postal dude wakes up at night and walks into his parents' room, where he sees his father kill his mother. The broken English in the intro makes it hard to understand what's going on. It says, but in this Christmas he can't stay in this city, referring to Paradise. But both the intro and the actual game take place in Paradise. Either way, Uncle Dave walks up to the postal dude and informs him that they owe over $1 million to the US government, and that they should steal Santa's presents, since they go for a lot on eBay, a setup very similar to the Postal movie.
So how much do we owe?
$1.3 million and 79 cents.
Oh, fuck, Rich.
This is one of Happy Knight's new features, and it's really cool. A lot of other mods have to rely on either reusing voice lines or recording new ones to tell a story, but Happy Knight shows its dialogue in the form of on-screen text. Sometimes there's even a choice of what you want to say. You can choose a starting item. Your choices are $20, a phone, body armor, or a ticket for a race. I'd personally recommend taking the ticket. The dude dresses up in his Santa gear and talks to a new character, Tony. He asks you to meet him at the gas station, which is your first errand, and the game starts. Happy Knight makes a great first impression. The HUD has been redrawn, and item icons have been replaced with upscaled versions of the classic icons, which you can toggle in the settings. Happy Knight is very customizable. You can adjust the view models, turn off new features, either cosmetic or gameplay ones. It's cool. The entire town has been given a winter makeover, even the parts that I didn't expect. I went to the underground part of Lucky Ganesh expecting it to be the same, and there were new things there. The compound is full of useful items. You can even find a chainsaw and an M16 if you stack some boxes. The M16 looks different than it does in the base game. Alongside adding new weapons, Happy Knight reworks existing ones, and they all feel way better than the base game versions. Leaving the compound, you'll notice a shop. Shops have been greatly improved compared to the base game. As a reminder, in Postal 2, to buy something, you would go up to someone, with cash in hand press the interact key, and walk away. You could only buy one item at a time. Each vendor only sold one type of item. It was horrible. In Happy Knight, shops received their own custom GUI. You can still only buy one at a time, but it's way faster than the base game. You might notice some of the new weapons in the shop, including the Quake 3 Plasma Gun and BFG-10K, and the Half-Life 2 crossbow. Going outside of the compound area will show you a cutscene of Santa Claus getting shot down with a rocket launcher. This causes his presents to be scattered all around Paradise. The dude talks to Tony, who gives you some errands. To do a job, steal 666 presents, visit the dude's father who is locked up in an insane asylum, to win a race against the fanatics, and to launch some fireworks. I think the presents errand is interesting. 666 is a lot, and the presents are all over Paradise. It makes it feel like you're making progress even when you're just exploring and not focusing on the main errands. The first errand I did was to do the job. What you have to do is explained when you actually get there. Some scientists are testing a new and expensive drug. You're given a tranquilizer syringe, and you have to bring a few alive scientists to the truck. Once you bring 5 of them, the alarm goes off and you have to fight security to get out. I actually really like the escape sequences in this mod, mostly because the weapons actually feel good to use, while in the original game they feel just okay. The truck with the scientists gets stolen, and you have to inform Tony's boss. Now that I think about it, that doesn't get marked as an errand, and the job errand gets marked as finished when you get all the scientists, so maybe you don't have to do it. On the next map there's a sewer area which I think is worth exploring. There's some good loot there, including the Half-Life 2 crossbow. You talk to Tony's boss. You both conclude that the fanatics stole the truck, and you have to fight them to progress. I wish it was clearer what to do in this part. I remember being very confused at what you actually have to do. I thought that maybe killing enough of them would trigger some more dialogue, but I don't think that's the case. Going to the next map puts you next to the first box of fireworks. The second box isn't far off. It's around this time that I discovered that I found an iPhone somewhere. You can use them to take selfies. Here you can start an optional side errand, where you help Christmas elves take back this important strategic object. I don't have much to say about it, but when I talked to the elf at the end, the camera was pointed like he was normal sized, and that was kinda funny. Next, I did the race. Happy Knight includes 2 other mods, X-Patch, which I'll talk about later, and the earlier mentioned Project Marika. This means that Happy Knight has vehicles, and in this errand you have to win a race. I really like this errand. The music is cool, but I can't play it because it's copyrighted. It's the 9DAO Superstars remix by Styles of Beyond. The racetrack is cool. There's a part where you go through the mall. In general, it's great. Surprise, surprise, you weren't meant to win and you get attacked. I think now is a good time to mention one of the cooler things in Happy Night, the arcade. Remember how A Week in Paradise had a few playable arcades? Happy Night does too, and they're all great. The first game I tried was Super Mario Bros. Something that I think should be noted is that for some reason in my copy, every time the game forces you into the third person perspective, there's a pair of T-posing hands near the dude. This isn't meant to happen, and it's not in other people's footage. Maybe it's a glitch in the newest patch, just ignore it. This minigame combines platforming and shooting, similar to the often forgotten Duke Nukem Manhattan Project. There are 2 levels, and at the end of the second one you get the Quake-free BFG 10K. My only real issue with this minigame is that the gun doesn't always shoot where your cursor is pointed at. You might notice that you collect rings instead of coins, and that's because they reused assets from another arcade game, Sonic Adventure. You get to play a faithful recreation of the first half of the first level from that game. You also get to shoot some very up-to-date memes. It works on the same rules as Sonic, as in, you get hit and you lose your rings. I'd recommend avoiding damage at all costs, as you get to keep the rings and weapons that you find in the arcade, and once you're out of the game you can sell these rings for a lot of money. The next machine is just called Open World. Now that's funny. The next machine is titled Project Marika. It has a racetrack, a race that you can do in exchange for presents, or if you already finished the presents, 2 new weapons, and a vehicle launcher which allows you to spawn any vehicle from Project Marika. Anything you want, from race cars to dragons. You sadly don't get to keep this when you exit the machine.
Right. Postal has vehicles now. Very funny, assholes.
The last arcade is my personal favorite, just for how ridiculous it is. You know that game you played on your phone 10 years ago, Fruit Ninja? Yeah. Beating this one gives you a katana, which is useful since you don't get many edged weapons in this mod. Now that I have enough presents, completing the Project Marika race gives me a freeze gun and a super grip rifle, both of which are really good. Fireworks box number 3 is next to the first half pipe dealer in the game, and the 4th one is next to the police station. Selling all the rings allowed me to finally afford the dual wielding upgrade. It's ridiculously overpowered. In Paradise Lost and Base Postal 2 after the 20th anniversary update, both guns were controlled individually, and that meant that shooting both would make ammo drain twice as quickly as it normally would. That's not the case here. Dual wielding is a straight up ×2 damage multiplier, ammo doesn't drain any faster. The next errand I did was visiting my father at the asylum. Under the normal asylum there is an underground one, and that's where he is being held. You're given several warnings about safety when entering. It seems to be abandoned by security. To progress, you'll have to flip switches, climb through vents, and generally go places you shouldn't go. You enter an elevator and go even deeper, while the police raid the asylum. You eventually find the dude's father, get attacked, and while escaping fall through the floor into a dark area. The only way to light it up is with matches. This part is pretty tense and annoying. You eventually find the right door and see something you probably haven't seen in years. SCP-173. It isn't just here to scare you, as it can actually attack you. Once you get out, you see the dude's father again. You get stabbed with a katana, and as the police enters the room, the dude passes out. You wake up at the hospital, and the errand is finished. Now, the only thing left for me to do is to light the remaining fireworks. The 5th box is near Meat World, and the last one is in the forest, right where you get the perfect Christmas tree on Postal 2's Wednesday. There is a barely hidden cave entrance behind it. Few will get this obscure gaming reference, leave a comment if you get it. Now that all the errands are done, you get a new errand. Go to the Happy Night party, which happens to be very close. The party is a gun-free zone, fuck that. So you go around and find out that right next to the party there is a fanatic hideout. You meet Tony, he gets shot, and a shootout between you and the fanatics start. I like shooting in this game, but this one takes, in my opinion, a bit too long. The fanatics eventually stop, you enter the building with Tony, and another shootout starts. At least this one has a progress bar. It eventually ends, you go forward and enter the party. Right as you enter, you get hit in the head with a shovel. The dude gets dragged away, and the game gives us a flashback. We see through the eyes of the dude's father. He finds out that the fanatics plan to do bad things at the party. He is the one that hit the dude with the shovel. He explains the situation, and asks the dude to help him stop them. Another shootout happens, and you kill the fanatics leader. Santa himself arrives to the party, and tells you that he has to punish you for stealing his presents. You get transported to some weird house. When you exit the room, you see Miss Claus tie up the dude's father. You untie him, and he kills her with a chainsaw. You go through a portal hidden behind the wall, end up in a weird room where a wheel decides your fate, get dropped into a pit and end up in the Matrix. You go through a door, end up in more or less Portal Chamber 19, and escape. A pretty cool but somewhat long fight with the agents begins. It's like that one scene from The Matrix Reloaded but if Neo had a katana. After a few minutes a door opens and you talk with your father. So, maybe you know what the fuck happened? I think something weird here. Poisoned water, aliens, elves, Santa Claus and Miss Santa, 666 gifts that give magic power. Looks like we're in a dream coming to an end. I think the actual explanation is that the developers made what they thought would be cool without really thinking about it. And to be fair, it is all pretty cool. You restock on weapons, sadly you don't get everything back, rest in peace Freeze Gun, and fight Santa Claus. You can't just spam him as he'll block most of your damage with his gift bag. He'll also spawn creatures to help him. Elves, Sonics and lobotomy monkeys. You defeat Santa and the dude wakes up. Was this all a dream? Apparently not. Uncle Dave kicks the dude out of the compound because they're going on strike. Tony celebrates him and the dude stopping the fanatics and Santa, and the dude has a short chat with his father. We get another cutscene, seen through a child's eyes. The kid goes outside, and the dude hands out presents. The dude is giving gifts to orphans. How wholesome.
Nice work, son.
Thanks.
I have a lot of plans for the future. I hope we'll meet again. You're the good boy. I'll see you, son.
If you say so. Oh, great. Why does this not surprise me? I'm an equal opportunity lunatic.
And on this page the wonderful story that has happened one night is ended. Sure. This was only the beginning of the adventures the Postal Dude. It's just begin. Someday we will be read this story too, but now, we can only say, good fucking Christmas and Happy New Year.
Happy Night is, in my opinion, the best Postal 2 mod out there. It makes me excited to explore Paradise again. It makes me want to go back and search for more secrets. The weapons are great, the errands are fun, what more could you really ask for? I do have some complaints, but they're literally all nitpicks. Like, oh wow, the game takes place in 1994, but there are posters referencing events that happened after that year and there are iPhones, and it's like, who really cares? The mod is great, and you should play it. Even now that you know what happens, I left out many secrets that I found, so that I wouldn't entirely spoil the game for you. Something that I feel like is worth mentioning is the ending, when the Necronomicon closes and the camera pans to two other books, Eternal Damnation Resurrected and Postal Revelation. We know what Eternal Damnation Resurrected is, I mentioned that way earlier in the video, but what is Postal Revelation? Sadly, I don't have much to say. It's a cancelled mod by Resurrection Studios. There are a few work-in-progress videos online and there's a now deleted ModDB page, but that's pretty much it. It's a shame, because the little we've seen from it looks good. The next mod is pretty unique compared to the rest. What it does is add a co-op mode to Postal 2. For those not up to speed, Postal 2 has multiplayer, but it's not co-op or anything like that. It's things like deathmatch, capture the flag, etc. This mod combines the single player and the multiplayer into an honestly pretty fun experience. My dogshit ISP blocks port forwarding, and emulating LAN with software like Hamachi makes the game lag like shit, so I'll use Minecraft multiplayer footage as a stand-in. It's Postal 2 but in co-op. It supports up to 16 players, I imagine it's very unstable at that point, I only ever played with one other person. You can use a button to teleport to the player closest to where you're pointing at, and that makes it so that you can easily cheese some parts of the game. Have the other players stand near the start of the map, do the errand, teleport to them, and you skip the entire escape sequence. Due to how the physics work in this game, if both players jump and one kicks the other player will fly away, which is pretty funny and honestly really useful. If a player dies, they can be revived by another player after roughly 10 seconds. I don't really have much else to say about it, it's Postal 2 but in co-op. As of writing, it doesn't work on the current 5100 build, so you'll have to downgrade to 5025. It supports Apocalypse Weekend and Corkscrew rules, but not Paradise Lost. I have had enough of Postal 2, let's play a different game. The next mod is actually for Postal 3. This mod is called the P3 Improvement mod, and its goal is to make Postal 3 better. It does that in a couple ways. First off, the Dude model was replaced with a recreation of his beta model, which I think is worse than the final version, but whatever. The HUD was also replaced. It also modifies the mission scripts to make them less tedious. I didn't play through the whole game with this mod, because quite honestly I don't really care, but the ones I played definitely felt less tedious. For example, the first on tutorial mission. In the original you had to scare away 12 hockey moms and you had to defend both the store and Ron Jeremy, but in the mod you only have to scare away 6, and the defense aspect was removed completely. Example 2, the next mission. In the original you have to steal 15 cats. In this mod this was reduced to 6. In general, it seems like the missions are shorter and easier, but that's not a big deal since Postal 3 is piss easy anyway. The most interesting change is that the mod claims to remove the karma system. For those not aware, in Postal 3 you had two separate story paths, good and insane. If you were on the good path and killed enough people, you would be taken to the insane path, which has different missions and a different ending. The mod claims to remove the system, which I assume would mean the mission where you choose which path you want to take would be the only one where karma matters, but killing people on a later mission still took me to the insane path, so I assume it's either broken or I installed it wrong. Either way, this mod is blasphemy. Everyone knows Postal 3 is a perfect game. We'll come back to this masterpiece later, because there are more noteworthy mods for it, but those come later in the timeline. Here is something that I didn't expect to find at all, a Postal 1 mod. It was released by a modding team called Wagjob Interactive in 2017. For those not in the know, the Steam version of Postal 1 is weird. It includes widescreen, better controls, all the levels from all the expansions, but it's not the definitive edition. The old versions had things that were removed from the new versions. Notably, one thing removed from the modern versions was the level editor. It wasn't great, but it was more than nothing. This mod, A Day in Paradise, uses that editor in creative ways to create a Postal 2-like campaign in Postal 1. It takes place on the first day of the year 2000, and your errand is to go to Easy Mart to buy something. You'll use flagpoles as travel guides. This is actually pretty interesting. Postal 1's levels required you to kill a certain amount of hostiles and press F1 to progress, but these maps use the multiplayer capture the flag system, where you have to get to the flag to grab it, and since the flag is placed on top of the capture the flag goal thing, it's instantly captured, which counts as beating the level. I like how creative the mod gets with translating Postal 2 features. Stealing things from people's homes is replaced with item boxes laying in front of the door, which when picked up make angry homeowners come out of the house. The mod's soundtrack mostly consists of tracks taken from other games. I remember hearing music from Postal 3 and Paradise Lost. The mod has some new voice lines for the dude, which is cool.
Damn, Mike J sure loves this mod.
The dude eventually gets to Easy Mart, buys meat and leaves. Angry protesters attack him and you get a choice, hit or run. Since the game doesn't require you to kill any hostiles, you could beat this mod pacifist. The police join in on attacking the dude, I can't imagine why, and the dude buys a health pipe which gets him really high. He learns that the health pipe merchant works for Uncle Dave, so he pays him a visit. Dave gives him an errand, to steal some weapons from the army. The dude does that, gives the stolen gear to Dave, and you fight the army on your way home. The story is okay, nothing amazing but not bad either. I like how the mod uses Postal 2 screenshots for the loading screen art. The use of multiplayer features to turn Postal 1 levels into Postal 2 style maps is very creative. In general, it's a very cool mod. Let's go back to talking about good games now. Have you ever thought about how Postal 3 would look like if we remade it in Postal 2? Me neither, but a couple of modders did. Those modders being, sorry if I pronounce any of these wrong, Shriko Mixer 669, Kasha Film, and Pan Shatan. This mod has been in the works since at least 2018 and it's still not finished. The only playable version we have is the demo released in 2019, so relatively early. The demo features a recreation of the map from one of the pre-release videos and a few weapons. I don't really have much to say about it, it's cool, so I'll talk about the things we've seen in YouTube videos shared by the developers. Postal 3 Unreal seems to be a full Postal 3 remake in Postal 2. I originally thought it was just gonna be a few free roam maps from that game, but we have a video of the Paradise Dream Bridge, which was Postal 3's tutorial level. The video doesn't show the cutscenes that constantly played and showed you how to do things. They could be omitted from the mod, or they could be something that the developers just haven't made yet. In 2020, footage of the prison break was uploaded. It shows the dude getting arrested and escaping prison. Postal 3 had a prison escape as part of the campaign, but here it seems to be an optional thing that happens when you get arrested. Or it could be both. I don't really know what else there is to say. I'm really looking forward to the release of the mod. The demo is good and it's been several years since its release. The post-demo footage looks really promising. In July of 2020, Pan Shatan released X-Patch. Running with Scissors likes to claim that they keep updating their old games to this day, but that's not really true. Before the latest patch, the last time Postal 2 received an update was 5025 in 2020. The last time they did anything besides fixes was 5023 in 2018, which included new languages, and the last time they actually added any content was 5021 in 2016, and the only new thing in that patch was some new dialogue and a Steam VR Easter egg. Postal 2 could still be improved. That's where X-Patch comes in. It's an unofficial patch focused mostly on quality of life and compatibility. The changelog is extensive, but like the previous few mods, I don't really have much to say. These changes are pretty much all for the better. I recommend installing Xpatch 2.0 because it adds a lot of small but good changes and it doesn't break most mods. Is what I would say a couple months ago. You're probably aware of the 20th anniversary update for Postal 2, 5100. How cool is it that Running with Scissors created a new content-filled update for the game so many years after release? Except they didn't. 5100 is literally Xpatch 3.0. So yeah, if you played Postal 2 in the last few months, you've played Xpatch. Therefore, this is both an Xpatch analysis and a Postal 2 5100 analysis. I won't talk about the quality of life changes because it's like protest sign picked up by player will now keep the skin of the sign dropped by protesters instead of changing it to end protesting. Cool, but who cares, you know? Xpatch adds vending machines to the base game. If you launch Paradise Lost, you can play 2 weeks in Paradise, a campaign that combines Postal 2, Apocalypse Weekend, and Paradise Lost into one way too long campaign. Doing that also adds Paradise Lost weapons into the vending machines in the base game. You can flip people off in the base game, a feature previously exclusive to Paradise Lost. Krakola was added as an item. Spend some money at the vending machines, or kick them, to receive a can. It works the same way as Habib's power station. New graphics options were added: shell casings, dynamite lighting when shooting, alternate massive flashes, SDP style gore, blood not disappearing from melee weapons when you switch to a different weapon, etc. The weapon and inventory selector skins can now be changed to one of 3 presets. You can put cuts on almost any gun now, including the rocket launcher. There's a new difficulty, Ludicrous, shameless plug, I have a second channel video about it. There's a classic mode, which is meant to make the game more like versions 1000 to 1409, and more. Something also worth mentioning is Xpatch Enhanced Edition. It was meant to be a successor of sorts to Awaken Paradise. It combines the quality of life features of Xpatch while adding new weapons, new maps, Awaken Paradise content cut from Postal to complete, improved gore, etc. I think Xpatch Enhanced Edition is very cool. Its patches were made obsolete by newer Xpatch versions, but those don't have the enhanced content. I think that Panchatan should port that content as a standalone mod to the Steam Workshop, now that Xpatch is part of the base game. Those are all the released mods that I think are noteworthy. Of course, there are unreleased mods to look forward to. Panchatan has, in the past, announced Awaken Paradise Redelivered, a successor of sorts to Awaken Paradise Forever. The development of the mod has been frozen, but we might see it release one day. Postal 3 Unreal is, as far as I can tell, in active development, and it looks great. Revival Games has worked in the past on Eternal Damnation Resurrected and Postal Revelation. Those are, as far as I know, cancelled. But who knows, maybe we'll see them release one day. I heard that Eternal Damnation Resurrected was cancelled because Revival Games is helping Running with Scissors with Postal 4, but they managed to make Happy Night Director's Cut in their spare time, so maybe they'll also finish those 2 mods one day. There are 2 other mods that I'm really looking forward to. They both happen to be Postal 3 total conversions. One is called Controlled by Postal. It takes place in Latitude, Nebraska. According to the mod creator, Vandercold, the city won't be too big, but you'll be able to explore the surrounding area. Outside of the city has a fairly extensive area of fields, forests and mountains. All this is inhabited not only by rednecks, but also by new for the Postal series animals: foxes, cows, bisons and maybe more. There will be a dialogue system. With the dialogue system in the story, the player decides how dudes should behave, like an Arizona butcher or an Astrakhan punk, silent like in Paradise Lost or like an edgy teenager. There will apparently be several outfits to choose from. The developer has, in the past, shared gifs of some of the weapons. We also have descriptions of some of the new characters. A lot of this information can be found exclusively on VK, a Russian social media site. I had to use Google Translate for this, so this info might not be 100% accurate. Uncle Dave has a gang, which is a combination of the usual Uncle Dave cult members and the ecotologist from Postal 3. Dave proclaimed himself a god after he survived the Paradise nuke, and that's how his new cult started. That's all we know about the plot so far. This mod sounds interesting and very ambitious. I'm afraid the devs might have bitten off more than they could chew, but I guess we'll see when the mod comes out, if it ever does. The other Postal 3 total conversion is way more popular. Catharsis Reborn is a mod developed by Wagjob Interactive, remember them? Its goal is to basically replace Postal 3 in the timeline. It's been in development since 2016. There is no demo available. There was supposed to be one, but that got delayed indefinitely. The dude is played by an impersonator. It's a weird mix of Cory's laid-back nature and Rick's more sinister voice.
Yeah, this one seems easy enough.
I'm not sure the two clash well, but it's probably just me not being used to it. Updates on the mod are there, coming out once or twice a year, but all of them make the mod look even better and better. One of the developers' more interesting ideas is giving NPCs more autonomy. They can buy items, use items, recruit animals. If they enter a house and the owner spots them, they will react the same way as if you would enter their house. Cops will hang around crime scenes to try to find the culprit. It's a great idea and they seemingly managed to implement it. Their dev blogs are full of great ideas. We still don't have a demo, nor an estimate of when the demo will come out, but I think it's good that they are not rushing it. They keep making good progress on the mod, and we all know how Postal looks like when you release it before it's ready. I'm really looking forward to playing the mod when it comes out. So, what did we learn today? 1. Several mods have been made with Posted, proving that it indeed is a modding tool and not a medieval torture device. 2. Postal free chats stay winning. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, and you probably did since you're here, leave a like. And if you want more content like this in the future, subscribe. I really want to reach 1000 subs by the end of the year, and the motivation from seeing that might make me upload more than once every couple months. So, what did we learn today? Childhood is when you idealize Postal 2. Adulthood is when you realize Postal 3 makes more sense. I can't put that in.